Hello and welcome to World of Tanks with Trapsikis. We're looking at Tiber playing in the T20 today, and the T20 is obviously the American Tier 7 medium tank. Now, what makes this tank great? If you compare it to all of the other Tier 7 medium tanks, you'll see it has the lowest DPM. It has more or less average damage, or alpha. Penetration is rather lackluster at 160, the best being 198, the Panther, and the worst being 144, the KV-13. So, with regards to damage output, this tank is definitely below average. Add to that a shell velocity of 853 meters per second, gives you a rather difficult thing to work with. Then if you have a look at the gun handling, the aim time isn't bad at 2.21, the accuracy is okay at 0.36, however at longer distances that will often disappoint you. The gun depression is very adequate at 10 degrees, which is very nice to have. But it's not all around the vehicle. If you're shooting backwards, you only get 5 degrees, so that is something to be aware of. And if you look at the power to weight ratio, it is one of the best. It's 18.19, the best being 19.88 on the Comet. And the ground resistance is also very comparable to the Comet, slightly better on soft terrain. Traverses are also rather average, so in no way does this tank really stand out. If you look at the armor, it's also probably one of the worst tier 7 mediums. What's very nice about this tank, however, is the view range of 390, which is the best of the tier 7 mediums, and the profile is rather low. So if you've played with this tank before, you notice that you can use positions that you can't necessarily use in other tier 7 mediums, because you can simply get into positions that where you can be safe that you couldn't do in other comparable tanks. Combine that with the 10 degrees of gun depression, that means you can hold down and use the quite slopey turret. Although the turret isn't very well armored, you will ricochet quite a lot of shots. Right, so getting stuck into the action here, Tiber has landed his second shot. It's not being a very high roll at 216, but now he puts in another good shot into the Tiger, allowing his friendly FV-4202 to take him out. But you'll see Tiber's team is in rather a difficult situation. There's two medium tanks on the western flank, and they're facing 3 enemies with a bit of backup, 2 other mediums and a heavy tank that could be supporting them. Fortunately for Tiber, he's got the E25 behind him. Unfortunately, however, he doesn't seem interested in helping out. And now that the FV-4202 is taken out, Tiber is alone on this side. And here's a very important aspect that Tiber does good work in demonstrating: patience. When you're alone on one side, you shouldn't push, obviously. You can relocate, however, from this position, relocating is also a very dangerous option. Or you can be patient and wait for your enemy to make mistakes. So the big thing that we can learn from Tiber in this replay is patience. He demonstrates quite a lot of it, and when he does have the opportunity, he waits and uses his very good view range to make sure he can provide vision to his team. So let's have a look at his loadout. He carries, I believe, 35 standard rounds, 10 premium rounds and 8 high explosive rounds. Premium rounds on this tank not only improves the penetration to 243, which is quite good for a tier 7, it also improves the shell velocity, taking it from 853 to over 1000 meters per second, which makes a huge difference if you're sniping at long range, especially if you're sniping heavily armored targets at long range. You need the extra penetration, and you need the shell velocity to make sure that you actually hit your target if they're moving. So I'm going to speed up the replay a little bit here because, as I've mentioned, tiber uses patience very well, but that doesn't make for a very interesting watch. Now, the T-3400 on the enemy team finds him, and fortunately, tiber is a bit faster on the gun, and he gets a bit of support from the friendly artillery. So, you'll see the 3400 misses him again, which is very lucky. And now, once again, tiber falls back. Even though the T-3400 is a one-shot, he doesn't push the advantage and try to get the kill. He gives the E-25 on his team time to join him and be able to put shots into the VK. So facing two enemy medium tanks with higher combined hit points, they do quite a good thing isolating the two, so splitting them up so that the low hit point enemy could be taken out by the E-25, and then the VK obviously being tracked in place can also be eliminated. So very good teamwork here, not losing a lot of hit points for the friendly team and eliminating two dangerous tanks on the enemy team. Now the E-25 and the T-20 together gang up the SU-100Y. Obviously not having a turret is a major disadvantage when facing many enemies, and fortunately they were able to eliminate him without taking any shots, because with the 440 alpha damage that the SU-100Y has, you could have eliminated either of these two players with one shot. Unfortunately, the enemy artillery finds the E-25 and he's both tracked and stunned, so he's stuck where he is for a moment, but fortunately tiber finds him and together they take him out. Then the enemy M4A1 Revolution does something interesting there. He shoots HE, which does track tiber but doesn't do a lot of damage. I'm not sure exactly what the stats on the HE is there, but I'm quite sure that the Revolution would have been able to eliminate tiber with the one shot of AP. So that is a very interesting choice to make there, because he had less than 400 hit points. However, fortunately for tiber, that's what he chose to do, and tiber was able to repair the track and continue. Now, there's an interesting situation here. I'm going to speed up the replay quite a bit. The friendly artillery is still standing where he is, and the E-25 is also camping. So obviously they're counting on tiber to spot the enemies. And once again, tiber does something very clever here. He asks the RT, the friendly artillery, if he knows what the hit points of the enemies are. Obviously having a bird's eye view gives you a very good advantage, and gives you an opportunity to be able to know what the hit points are. Unfortunately, both the E-25 and the T-20 are on very low health, so they could be a one-shot either. Although if the enemies are one-shots as well, it may be worth tiber's time to just spot them and allow artillery to splash them. Seeing as the enemies don't have artillery, that's a big advantage. However, despite tiber's request that the artillery remain in position, for some reason the artillery does not have the patience, pushes up alone and gets destroyed. So now, where it was 3 versus 2 with a slight advantage to the friendlies, now it's 2 versus 2, 2 tier 7s versus 2 tier 8s, so the advantage swings back to the enemies. Fortunately though, the T-20 has quite good camo rating, and with the view range that tiber has here, he will probably be able to outspot the Loewe. Depending on the equipment loadout, he might even be able to outspot the Revolution. Speaking of equipment, I'm guessing because of the good view range that tiber is using probably vents, a gun rammer, and perhaps coated optics. So, first AP round tracks the lure, second one tracks him again, and then he switches to APCR. Obviously, now that the lure is tracked in place, it's easier to aim for the lower plate, and fortunately it finds home and eliminates him. However, the E25 was also eliminated by the Revolurise, and now it's a 1 versus 1 again. Now Tiber still has the APCR loaded, which has a better shell velocity, however it dips a little bit and only does critical damage without even taking off the track of the Revolurise. So once again, he has to go find the enemy and hope they don't shoot him first. The average damage of 390 on the Revolurise will easily take care of Tiber if it penetrates, and with the poor armor that he has, chances are it will penetrate. Right, so Tiber climbs the hill here. Obviously an altitude advantage is usually something you want. And then the enemy appears, but Tiber is faster on the trigger, eliminating him and winning the game for his team. At several stages it seemed very unlikely, so to be able to win this one is really quite impressive. Well done, Tiber. Now let's have a look at the post-game stats. Ace Tanker, unsurprisingly, a Confederate medal and a Lever Schleios medal for eliminating at least 2 enemies at least 1 tier higher. On the team detail, you'll see that Tiber is number 1 on damage on his team. However, not on kills. The E25 managed to get 5 kills there, and a very impressive 1,349 base XP. And then on personal details, even though he fired quite a few premium rounds, he still made a profit of 12,000 credits. And you'll see that of his 20 shots fired, 90 hits and 15 penetrated. So the rather lackluster penetration of the standard rounds showing their worth here. But very good gunmanship by Tiber. The assistance damage of 906 also adds quite a bit of experience, and with his personal reserves bonus he rakes in nearly 3,000 experience. Very well done, Tiber. Thank you for uploading the replay, and thank you for watching.